is this what it feels like to die? My consciousness started to feel like it was fading out of existence. It would turn out I was already dying at that point. They were going to call time of death in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. It was kind of rough, to be honest. I mean, you're talking it's not really all that fun to not be able to breathe, It's like being trapped inside your own body. Like there's nowhere to go. I was instantly in love with it. I saw it, I loved it, I latched onto it, and I never looked back.
So today we have a very special guest. His name is Dave Sledge, and he had a very interesting near-death experience. Hi, Dave. Tell us something about what happened.
Hey, how's it going, Sam? It's nice to see you again. It kind of comes full circle here, I had the opportunity to interview you and now it's comes full circle, so it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, so in regards to my near-death experience, I guess we'll just jump right into it. So, I've had asthma for my whole life. Long story short, I had a few asthma attacks as a younger child, and this was obviously the big one, if you will. So, I was sleeping over a family member's house and they went to bed. It was maybe midnight or so. I'm watching cartoons, I'm a little kid, and I start using my inhaler like a bunch, like every few minutes. Over the course of a few hours, it gets to a point it's not working anymore. So I'm starting to use it every like 30 seconds. I end up actually using all of the medicine. The inhaler went completely empty. And so this must have been, 3, 4 hours later at that point. And it would turn out that the reason I was having so much problem breathing was because I'm allergic to cats. Now, I had no idea. We had no idea that I was allergic to cats until this event happened. So apparently, I'm severely allergic to them, and they make my respiratory system just like shut down. It affects my asthma really bad. And so we didn't know about this. So the crazy part is, I have no idea that the cat is what's doing it to me. And I'm literally cuddling with the cat all night. Like I'm literally on the couch. I'm using this cat as like a pillow, dude. Um, which is crazy to think about in hindsight. I eventually realized I gotta wake up my family member. I had waited so long because I didn't want to wake them up. And once I was out of medicine, I'm like, well, I have no choice. I got to wake them up. It would turn out that by the time I woke them up, and I'm like tiptoeing into their room too. It's kind of funny. Like, I know I'm going to wake them up from sleeping, but I'm still being so quiet walking into their room. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I wake them up. It would turn out I was already dying at that point. Which thank God I finally decided to wake them up because I really could not have waited another second. I wake them up. The plan was to go to my grandparents' house up the road because my grandfather has an inhaler. So in her mind, she's thinking his inhaler will work. I kind of knew that it wouldn't because I just used all my medicine. We're driving up the road. So the last thing I remember is being in the car. So this would have been like a 5-minute car ride. I remember being in the car for like maybe 2.5 minutes, and that's where my memory actually stops. Apparently, we did make it to my grandparents' house, and apparently the story goes they said that they met us outside. I went to use his inhaler, and that's when I fell on my back, like in the front lawn. Um, I don't remember that happening. I just like I'm not a neuroscientist, but I think it's the hippocampus that, was shutting down clearly because I don't remember that part. And yeah, it was, to be honest, the whole experience, it was kind of rough, to be honest. I mean, you're talking, it's not really all that fun to not be able to breathe. It's like being trapped inside your own body. Like there's nowhere to go. And it sounds bad, but it felt bad too. Um, you know, but it is what it is. Thank God I'm alive and I'm grateful to have made it out. So the next thing I remember, so my memory serves me the following way. I was in the car and all of a sudden I was just like in some sort of black space. It felt like I was in space. Just like surrounded by a darkness. It was a neutral darkness. Um, and there was a light way off into the distance, kind of like, if you look up into the sky and you could see the stars, you know how it's like they're huge, but they're so far away that it's like it's like a dot on a piece of paper, right? And it's in the distance and it starts getting bigger and bigger. So I don't know if I was going towards it or if it was, we were going towards each other. Eventually, it was so big that I could only see the darkness kind of like in the corners of my eye. I don't really recall, as far as details, it's not like I had a body, it's like I say that as like an expression. So it was kind of like in my peripherals, but this light was taking up almost all the space. And it was kind of like I feel as though I got as close to the light as I could without going inside of it. It seems like naturally the next step would have been I, for some reason, go into this thing. Um, and yeah, as it got that big, it started to be accompanied by a sound, and it was like two musical notes. I learned in the comment section on someone's video, they said apparently it's called a chord. I don't know much about music terminology, but someone said it's called a chord. It sounded like like if you had 50 people singing the same note. It was kind of it's hard to explain, but it was these two notes I'll never forget. And right after I heard those notes, I just like woke up in the hospital and yeah, it was pretty wild. I had no idea what was going on by the time I woke up. I just opened my eyes. There was a whole bunch of doctors, frantically, panicking because all of a sudden I woke up. I couldn't feel my body or anything. I was who knows what kind of, drugs they gave me to keep me alive. I was just a little kid. I had no idea what was going on. At that point, I don't think I remembered what had happened right away, but I did shortly after. So they ended up asking me a whole bunch of questions, or let
Mhm.
me not skip this part. So apparently, what had happened was they actually told my mother to say goodbye to me because they told her that they were going to call time of death in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. And I always thought it was 60, but we had a conversation recently and she reiterated, no, it was 30. I was like, holy crap. Yeah, I guess it was just it had gotten that far. So my heart was shut down for a long time. My brain was shut down for a long time. And so I have no idea how I woke up. I don't know what they did. It was like last second I just woke up. Once I came back to consciousness, they were asking me all these questions, where are you? What year is it? They're trying to test my cognitive like state because
Mhm.
apparently if when your brain is when your brain is deprived of oxygen for that long, there could be a lot of like frontal lobe damage or something like this. I don't know. They were trying to figure out if I was still like mentally coherent. And
Yeah.
so they asked me, "How did you get here to the hospital?" And I said my mother carried me in her arms and walked me all the way to the hospital, which is clearly ridiculous. I don't know why I even said that, to be honest. I don't know if it's something I saw, like it, I don't know why I said it, but the thought of that is kind of funny, because you're talking multiple towns over. She wasn't even there that night. None of it makes sense. So I'm sure when I said that, they were probably worried, but somehow miraculously, I not only survived, but I would say that, I think my cognitive state seems to be pretty fine. So
Yeah, you're pretty alert. You're fine. Let
we
me
got
ask
we
you,
got lucky.
yeah, let me ask you, like when you saw the light, how were you feeling? Like what kind of feeling did you have?
That's an interesting question. Do you mean physical or like mental?
Mental feeling.
To be honest, when I was in that space, I don't recall questioning it that much. It's hard to explain, but it almost just seemed natural. I wasn't questioning where I was. It was quick, to be fair, it was quick. I understand that, some people, when they have near death experiences, they have this crazy long journey, 100 days and nights. They travel the whole universe. Unfortunately for me, that's not what I got. I got a very quick glance at this light and saw the light, heard the sound. I don't think I was thinking anything, to be honest. I don't think I questioned it. I was kind of just there, and then it was quick.
And for the two notes that you heard, are those like played by a musical instrument or is it something else?
It sounded more like an orchestra, like if people were singing, so like if you had 50 people with different voices singing the same note. So I don't know what that would, I guess they call it a chord. I don't know what they call it.
Would that be like a male voice or female voice or a mix of the two sexes?
A combination of both. It sounded like a large group of people.
Mm. And if you are to say what kind of pitches are the two notes, would you say those are just regular pitches or some kind of harmonious and making people feel comfortable or making you feel more alert?
I would say, yeah, I would say harmonious. It was beautiful, to be honest. It was only two notes, but it was beautiful. It's kind of some people have asked me like, is it like church music? It's like I guess it's like church music. I've heard similar notes. It was beautiful. It was harmonic. It was kind of one note was higher than the other. Um, it was like an
And the
op
two notes are playing together, are playing
it, w-
together?
it was one after the other. So it was kind of
Uh,
I'm not a fantastic singer, otherwise I would try to, recreate
mhm.
it, but
I see. And this is the near-death experience that you had. Any other experiences after this?
it's funny you ask this, because I shared one single time. It was Tia Renee's show. So the first person that ever interviewed me was Tia Renee, shout out to her. And on her show, I believe I detailed the out of body experience I had, but this was years and years later. This was like kind of unrelated. But since you asked, I might as well tell the story. So about a year ago, I had an out of body experience completely out of nowhere. And I actually I think I figured out how it happened. I think it could be recreated. Basically, the premise to this, someone tried to break into my apartment a few years ago. And ever since then, when I hear the hallway door open, my ears, I go on high alert just to make sure. I want to hear them enter a different apartment just because you never know. And the reason that's important is because when I had this out of body experience, I think it directly had to do with that, the fear involved with that. So I was going to sleep one night. You know that that mental state where you're halfway conscious and halfway not conscious, like before you fall asleep,
Yeah.
you're like vulnerable in that state. So I was in that halfway conscious state. I was almost fully asleep and I heard that hallway door open and it was loud as hell. And it shocked me. Like for some reason, it actually shocked the hell out of me. Pardon my language, but I think it's because I was in that vulnerable state of like halfway conscious. So I jump up and I'm sitting up. If for some reason I'm stricken with fear, like it's I'm usually not that afraid. I'm just alert. But this like shocked me so much that I felt it through like the core of my body and I'm listening very intensely, sitting in my bed. At least I thought I was sitting in my bed. And so I finally hear the neighbor, a woman that used to live next door. They're actually moving in a few days. Um, I heard the woman's voice. The second I heard her voice, I said, okay, there's no danger out there. Like all the fear just like melted away. Like, if you ever like hit your knee on the concrete, the way that the pain will melt away. Um,
Yeah.
the fear like melted away because there was no danger out there. So I started laying back down. And that's when I realized that I was like 3 feet above my bed. And it was like crazy. And I literally thought to myself, so I start descending. I thought I laid down onto my bed, but now I'm in like a laying down position, floating above my bed, and I'm slowly descending. And I don't think I had any control over the descent. It was so slow. It was like notably peaceful. And when I was about halfway down, my consciousness started to feel like it was fading out of existence, like for real. And I remember it was like my consciousness was dimming out like a light bulb. And I literally thought to myself, is this what it feels like to die? Now, I don't know. I think it's a combination of because I felt my consciousness dimming plus my interest in near-death experiences, and I'm always contemplating my own mortality. Here I am, my consciousness is dimming out. I'm out of my body, and like it's crazy, but it was so peaceful. And the second that I would have been hitting the bed, my eyeballs shot open. And come to find out, I was still laying on my side. I had never moved. My physical body had never moved at all. I look at the clock, it's only been like 5 minutes, maybe 10 at most. It's been like 8 minutes, and I can hear the neighbor locking her door from the inside. The whole thing really happened, except my body never moved. And it was crazy. I mean, I think the conditions were just right. So my theory is that in that vulnerable state of halfway conscious and halfway not conscious, I think because of the shock factor, I think it literally shocked my consciousness out of my body. I think it tricked my consciousness into thinking it was time to go.
Mm.
That's my theory. I could be wrong, I don't know, but I think the conditions were just right, and it just so happened to work that way.
Mm.
So that's my only other experience like that.
But since you're still here, that means your time is not up yet.
That's right. That's right.
But do you know what your life mission is or what your goal is in life?
That's a really good question. I suppose mission and goal, well, I guess they could be the same thing. As far as goal, I mean, there's lots of goals, it's like I want to keep skateboarding. Well, let me clarify. Okay, so there's goals, missions, there's purpose. I guess we're
Right.
gonna blend them all in, right? So like
Right.
I love skateboarding. I know it's not the most important thing ever, but it means a lot to me for some reason. Um, I think remaining playful and just being silly and having fun is very important to me as well because, there's always going to be times where something bad you're going to be in serious situations. So when you're not in one, it's like might as well have fun, play around, stay happy, But as far as like long term, you're talking like a mission in life. As of right now, my mission in life is doing this channel, is interviewing people about their near-death experiences and theories about consciousness. Obviously, I've interviewed you about, your interview was a little bit different, but I had a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, as far as like if we were going to say purpose, and I don't mean to rephrase your question,
Mhm.
but I don't know, man. I think about that all the time. Why are we here? I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know if we're here to learn something, but it kind of depends like what consciousness is and how it operates. Because let's say hypothetically, if our existence is built upon limitation, let's say, right? If you look at all the species, we all have different limitations. There's some species that they could visually see more than we can, or they can hear more than we can, or they have sonar and they have all these abilities we don't. But then across all the different species, we have different limitate. It seems like it's built upon limitation. So if we were to say purpose, I don't know, maybe the purpose could be just to experience it. Maybe the purpose could be to learn, the purpose could be to learn how to love, how to face adversity. I have no idea, bro, to be honest.
Yeah. Let me tell you my life purpose or life mission is to wake people up because in my dreams, one of the dreams that I had when I was young, I had this dream, very strange dream that I was able to know everything. In the dreams that I knew everything, everything about the earth and everything about how to perform miracles, things like that. And I was told that my life mission is to wake people up. And I thought that it would be very easy because I can just pass knowledge on to the people, and so that people can learn about it and know whatever they should know. But in my subconscious mind, I felt that it's not that simple because some people are easily woken up and some people are not that easily to know this kind of knowledge. So I have to navigate the system and to really break into different circles, sometimes going to uncomfortable zones in order to bring the message to as many people as possible. So that's the reason I was so focused on promoting the message. I've been so focused on promoting the messages in the books, Theory of Prophecy, and the other book that I translated from German into English about the autobiography of the highest degree member of the Illuminati. So that's my life dream and or life purpose, but I'm still working on that. I'm going to do my best to fulfill the life mission. So I have a hypothesis that each one of us has a spiritual lesson to learn. And I think the reason that you came back to here is to finish your unfinished life mission or purpose. And I don't know
It
what
could
that is.
be.
Yeah,
It could be, man. Yeah, it's it's a deep question. I admire that you know what your mission is. Some days I kind of know what I want to do with my life, and other days I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I'm just gonna get my work done and whatever. You kind of go on autopilot. But yeah, I think it's very admirable. Like you said, trying to wake people up. Not everyone's receptive to it, right? So we could do like what I'm doing is, trying to dig into near-death experiences, what happens when we die, all this stuff. Vinny Tolman said it perfectly. He said, "We are the PR campaign for heaven." But you could tell as many people as you want about all these crazy experiences. Not everyone is receptive to it, kind of like you're saying. So, I admire what you do, and I do regret not asking you about the Illuminati when we spoke. I said, how did I forget to ask him about? We might have touched upon it a little bit, but
yeah. We can do it another time. It's a very interesting book, but very disturbing as well. But you mentioned about the skateboarding. Like, how did that start?
it started with the Tony Hawk video game. I think a lot of people started skating from that, but when that first came out, I was a kid. My first memory of playing that game before I ever owned a skateboard, right? So I found skateboarding through the video game, ironically enough, in the hospital. So, and it was
Oh,
right around the time of my near-death experience too, but this wasn't from the near-death experience. This was from pneumonia. So I had pneumonia at some time either before or after, and I was in the hospital for like weeks
let
over.
me ask you, was that before your near-death experience or after?
I believe it was before, but it was so
Before.
close that it's hard to tell. I would put my money on I think it happened beforehand.
Okay.
But yeah, for some reason I was in the hospital for like weeks, and so eventually they gave me a Nintendo. And one of the games they had was the Tony Hawk game. I started playing that all the time. And it's funny, when I first got my first skateboard, I was a little frustrated because, it's difficult to learn. It took me a long time to learn how. So I was thinking I was gonna hop on my skateboard and do 900s on like a 2-foot quarter pipe. I know you probably don't know the terminology, but like turns out I couldn't even stand on the thing for a long time.
And then as you play the game, you were into that, and then did you and in the very beginning, I thought it must be very difficult for you to do it well. And then did you really have a subconscious mind to really want to engage into that into the future? Like,
Oh, 100%. I was so in love with skateboarding from the second I saw it. And like I said, we're talking even just the video game. The
yeah.
concept of skateboarding, I was instantly in love with it. And that love has not diminished by any means. I don't know what it is. I saw it, I loved it, I latched onto it, and I never looked back.
Hmm. And as you were practicing skateboarding, did you learn it faster than the rest of the people, or just at the same pace? Did you have a talent for that? I meant to
Well,
ask.
it's funny you asked that because I would argue that it took me longer than most people to learn. So it took me, for the people that know the terminology, it took me like at least over a full year to learn how to ollie and at least another full year to learn how to kick. Like I learned really, really slow.
Mm,
And then I think it just got to a point where once I unlocked a couple things, it just, started going quicker.
mhm.
But it took me a while.
Oh, I see. It took me a while to become a very good interpreter too. So it goes through. And then as you were doing that, what made you really want to like skateboard for the long time? Was it just the adrenaline enjoyment, or is it something that you really want to be the best skateboarder in the world, or is it something just a pure personal enjoyment in the process?
Well, there was definitely I just thought it was cool. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And when I was younger, of course, I was like, I want to be a pro skater and all this stuff. And I tried that for a while. I'm happy with like my ability. I think I have a pretty realistic understanding of what my ability is. It's like, okay, I know I'm good at skateboarding, but I also know that especially nowadays, there's so many people that are so gnarly. I'm definitely not the best either. So it's like I'm happy that I pushed myself to get as good as I could be to where I can impress myself sometimes. But yeah, I think the idea of being a pro skater, um, I don't know when this happened, but several years ago, I was like, okay, that's probably not going to happen. But we did a couple cool things, and I just love skateboarding, man. So to me, it kind of shifted. So in other words, the love was always there, even though I wanted to be the best. But then you're just like, okay, realistically, if that doesn't work out, I wouldn't even think about quitting skateboarding. Like
Mm.
my foot is injured right now. My foot is destroyed right now, and I'm going skateboarding after this interview.
Oh, is your foot staying from the skateboarding injury?
Usually it is. This one was a freak accident,
Oh,
unfortunately, off the board. I crushed it. It got crushed. So when I say I'm going skateboarding, to be honest, I really can't even. It's hard to explain. I could roll around and watch my friends skate, but I'm actually severely injured right now,
mm.
unfortunately. So I just like to be around it. I'm kind of putting off. They want to do plates and screws, and I don't want them to drill into my bones. So
Oh,
I've been putting it off. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Um,
there's a that seems to be a very, very serious injury that you have right now.
yeah, it was a freak accident. Accidents happen. What else can I say about it, because
Yeah.
it's frustrating, but it is what it is,
Mm.
man.
On the other hand, if you know the book The Over Prophecy, if you read it, it talks about the physical body and also the human energy fields, the auras. I know that Barbara Brennan can see auras. So when a person gets injured, he would have distortion of the energy field around the area where the injury is. And Barbara Brennan would just heal that portion of the energy field, making it normal, normalizing the field. And then the person would get faster recovery from the physical injury. So this is something that you might want to look into to find a healer and to do some kind of energy healing to improve or maybe at least to speed up the recovery process.
If anyone can do something, it's like, yeah, I'm open to anything, man. Like it's tough. It's tough, but it's part of the game. Like I said, if it happened when I was skateboarding, you're not as mad about it because I get hurt skateboarding all the time.
Mm.
I think the salt in the wound is kind of knowing that it was off the board, freak accident. It's just frustrating. But yeah, I'll look into it, man. Maybe I'll get a magician over here. They'll do their little magic or whatever.
Yeah, especially people who can see auras. That's going to be very, very important. I'm actually the opposite of you because I have the fear of being injured physically. So this is why I don't do any sports that have a lot of physical uh, competition, like not even basketball, because people get hurt playing basketball. So the only sports that I do it would be kind of badminton or tennis, or maybe just walking or jogging, something like that. So I'm the
Okay.
opposite. I wouldn't go into some of the sports that
Well,
would make me fearsome.
well, that's interesting, man. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, to be fair, your body is probably in much better shape my body's been destroyed from the top down. When I interviewed Dr. Eben Alexander, I had a concussion from skateboarding 24 hours prior. Like I'm hurt all the time. So
Oh,
I don't blame you, man. You're probably in better physical, at least you're put together better. My body is just destroyed.
dude, I don't know where my fear came from. Probably from my past life memories or something like that. I have to look into that. And probably your love of skateboarding comes from one of your past lives. So I don't know. Must
Maybe.
be, yeah.
Quick question, if you don't mind. Have you ever seen the movie Origin?
No, I have not. No.
It's like I, comma Origins. What you
No.
said reminded me of that. So I guess I'm gonna spoil the movie for people, but for those that have seen it, they were kind of trying to trace reincarnated people from their eyeballs, like
Okay.
their iris. And
Mhm.
the end of the movie kind of suggests that it might happen. So there was someone that got chopped in half by an elevator,
Oh,
like the elevator dropped and chopped their legs off. And at the very end of the movie, when like an elevator door opened, there was like a little girl that got like super scared of the elevator. And it kind of suggested that she was like reincarnated and has that fear as like an instinct coming from the past life. So I don't know, maybe there's something to what you're saying, you know?
yeah, and a lot of the hypnotherapists, when they do past life regressions, they find similar traits of people, and finding out the origins of the fears. Probably, I got injured in past life playing sports. I don't know.
It could have been.
Yeah. How did you feel about Eden Alexander, Dr. Eden Alexander?
Oh, he was great. Yeah, he was
Mhm,
awesome. I'm very grateful and thankful that he came on. Kind of interesting story around that. My buddy was asking me, he was trying to help me out with the channel. He's like, he's trying to he's like, make me a list of, the people you would like to interview and whatever. Dr.
mhm.
Eben Alexander was on that list of people. And he just so happens, we're hanging out in the backyard having a fire. And he goes, "Oh, Dr. Eben Alexander is coming to Connecticut on Saturday." I said, "What? Where?" And, so he ended up going and doing a talk in, I think, Avon.
Mhm.
And we ended up going. I was like, "Yo, if you guys want to go, like, I'll buy your ticket." It was, it wasn't too expensive. And so we got to meet him. We got to hear him talk in person. I, grabbed his books and kind of met him briefly. And yeah, and he came on the show, and it was a trip for me, man. He's a super cool dude. He's very nice, and kind of like every guest, he was willing to put up with my antics. So, always happy about that. But it was cool.
Yeah, great, great. Did you reach out to him by email or just in person? Did you ask him in person?
So yeah, so when we went to see him speak, it was kind of in the back of my mind the whole time. I knew I was going to ask him to come on the show. But
Mhm.
also it was one of those where it's like, okay, he's signing books. We're not going to coordinate this whole thing. I just figured I'd kind of run it by him and try to get his information. And he gave me his card, and I reached out, whatever, and it worked
Mm,
out, bro.
great, great. Any other guests you want to be on your show?
Someone who was on that list, I'm not even going to say who it is, but I just interviewed them the other day. So that was we got one of them. Yeah, a bunch of people. You know, it's kind of interesting. A bunch of people that I wanted like as like a dream interview. I
Mhm.
kind of had them all on like in the beginning, which is crazy because it's like in the beginning you don't even know what you're doing, and somehow I got all those guys in the beginning, and it's pretty wild. But yeah, there's a few more people on the list for sure. Like I would love to interview Billy Carson.
Oh, good question.
I'll put that out into the ether, bro. If he's watching, I'm
Mm,
gonna hit him up too. I haven't hit him up yet because I don't know if I'm ready yet. I need
mm,
to provide more. I need to create more value,
mhm.
and like, because if I hit him up, I got one shot. I don't want to hit him up like multiple times throughout the years. So yeah, I would say I know this answer is all over the place, but I would say Billy Carson is on the list.
Mhm.
There's a few more people on the list, but if I name too many people, then I'll just start leaving people out. I don't
Oh,
know,
I
bro.
see. Yeah. I'm my direction is gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna be kind of inviting people in different industries to be on my show, like lawyers, doctors, but also people who work in um, kind of non-professional industries, like non-professional areas, even like cleaners on the street or maybe even like a beggar on the street. I want to interview a more uh, diverse group of people, yeah, audience. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I kind of like that concept, people on the street, like you're saying. It's because you never know who you run into. Um,
Yeah.
I always say, like, if you're at a grocery store, there's like 100 people in there. every single one of those 100 people, they know something that you don't,
Mm.
you know? So you never know, like, who you might run into. They might have the most interesting life you've ever heard of.
You know, in the last 20 years or so, China has been growing economically. Pretty much a lot of people really want to focus on earning more money, getting better lives, accumulating more material wealth. And to me, it really doesn't matter whether you're the richest person in the world or like a beggar on the street, because we all have different lessons to learn in our lives. It's just like how we respond to the life challenges. That's the key into getting more spiritual lessons and how to advance spiritually. So this is, I think, something that I've been trying to convey to a lot of people. Do you feel that you have certain spiritual lessons that you want to experience or learn in this lifetime? I know we talk about this, but I just
Well,
want to be, yeah.
they sorry to cut you off. They say be careful what you wish for, bro. So I don't know. I could say I want to learn XYZ, and then it's, you never know what you're gonna get. I do think there's something there where it's like maybe we're not all here for the same reason, like you're saying. We're all learning different lessons. We all have different experiences, and maybe that is part of it, man. Maybe it's kind of like I was speaking with someone recently. They said, if you pray for strength, you're not going to get strength in return. You're going to get a situation that requires strength to get through. If you pray for patience, and I'm like directly quoting him right now, Devin Bennett. I literally was editing his interview 5 minutes before I started this. Anyway, but he said if you pray for patience, you're not going to get patience. You're going to get something that tests your patience. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe we have these experiences because the only way to learn certain spiritual lessons is to just experience it head on.
Mhm.
There could be something there.
Yeah, let's talk something more practical in terms of how to get more audience on YouTube or other platforms. Have you discovered what works better to get more subscribers and what doesn't work?
Oh, bro, I'm trying to figure that out all the time, man. Once you think you have it figured out, it's like your videos just start falling off. When I first started, my first video got like I don't know, like 7,000 views, and I was like, "Oh crap, this is gonna work." And then the next one was like three and a half, and then since then, it's like I could barely break 1,000 views. I don't know what the hell I'm doing out here. All I know is that I'm continuing to do interviews like every single day and banging my head over the wall trying to research every guest for 10 hours, somehow get the video out. And I just kind of have faith in the long term of that. But as far as strategy, like you're saying, practical, I genuinely don't know. I think maybe you have to have a good, obviously, you have to have a good thumbnail and title, but you have to deliver on that as well. So I don't really like the whole clickbaity thing.
Mhm.
Some people clickbait the hell out of their videos. I mean, you've seen it, which
Yeah,
I'm not hating, it's just not my style. So like, sure, I could do things like that to get more views, but I refuse to do it. Like it has to if the title and thumbnail are going to be provocative, the video itself has to accurately be representing that. I don't want to like trick people into watching the video. I want them to know what they're in for when they come.
really have to make people watch until the end of the video and not to jump or just halfway through, according to
That's
Mr. Beast. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too, is really just audience retention. So
Yeah.
I don't know what a good percentage is for that. I thought I knew, but I don't get that many views. So what the hell do I know?
Let's
We'll
see.
we'll get there, bro. Me and you are going to the top.
Yeah, let's work together. Great. Thank you so much. I don't have any other questions.
Dude, thanks so much for having me on, man. Like I said, it's all reciprocal, but I do genuinely think it's cool, to have it come full circle. We got to interview each other. We could work together in the future. We'll figure it out. But
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
yeah, appreciate it, man.
Great. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So wait, so is the interview over?
Yeah.